Guys, welcome in to World War III. Just wanted to hit on some random stuff that I saw on Twitter, on social media. We've got Public Citizen, whatever this is, saying, FYI, we're blocked by Elon Musk. So much for being committed to free speech. So apparently Elon Musk has blocked this Public Citizen account. I'm completely ignorant on Public Citizen. I don't know what they do, but Elon Musk blocked them. But it's like these people keep missing the point. This is why we need free speech on Twitter. Because one of the things that people will say, what if you get harassed? What if you think someone is committing hate speech? Block them! Like, this is just buffering the overall point that, someone like Donald Trump, a political figure, should not be banned from Twitter for saying something you don't agree with. You can block them. Elon Musk, I guess, didn't like what Public Citizen was saying, or maybe he, blocked them accidentally. I don't know what the situation. But isn't that the whole point of having free speech? If you get harassed by someone, if you think Donald Trump's a bully, if you think he's saying bad things, block him, and you'll never have to hear from him again on Twitter. That's the great thing about blocking people. If you get triggered by Donald Trump, you can block him. Like, that's why they have the block button. If you're getting harassed by someone, you can block them. You'll never see another tweet from them again. The answer is not to deplatform them because you don't agree with what they're saying. Just block them. That is the answer. So it's like these people keep buffering the overall point that free speech is good on social media, and they're like, ooh, Elon Musk is blocking me. He doesn't agree with free speech. No, that's just something you can do on Twitter if you don't like someone. It's not deplatforming them, or banning someone off the entire platform. That's completely different. So I just thought it's like they're talking about, it's like they're trying to debunk Elon Musk bringing free speech to Twitter, and they're just boostering his argument more and more with tweets like this. That's all they're doing. It makes no sense to me. And then you see headlines like this. Oh my goodness. How Congress can prevent Elon Musk from turning Twitter back into an unfettered disinformation machine. So they want the government to step in to, of course, preserve the rights of the citizens. And there's that disinformation word again, which I hate so much. I was actually just thinking about this morning. The idea, and it's so important that the citizens understand how they take your rights and the steps at which they go about taking your rights. If you are the government and you want to restrict the rights of citizens, you don't do so. You don't campaign by saying, we're going to take your rights. If you're the government and you want to take away people's rights, the goal is always for the people to be arguing for their own rights to be taken away. And how you do that is through emotional, kind of, situational reaction arguments. Kind of like whenever the Second Amendment debate gets brought up, they always bring up the school shootings. If there's a school shooting today or tomorrow, I'm not saying there's going to be, but if there was, for example, let's just say a school shooting today, there would be a day where everyone is sad, it's terrible, if kids died, and then they would immediately be pushing restrictions on firearms because they want to take advantage of that emotional state that human beings are in, and you'll get citizens arguing saying we should give up our rights to the right to bear arms for the betterment of society. The First and Second Amendment, what's going on with those two things is really interesting because, with the Second Amendment, it's a lot more extreme where people generally hate the Second Amendment. They want, you could say, well, they want pistols to be allowed. They just don't want the automatics. It's really cloudy, but there are definitely people out there who want a full gun ban, similar to what Australia does, really restrict gun laws. With the First Amendment, most people do agree that you should have the First Amendment, but we're seeing a lot of liberals now, over the past few years, and Elon Musk by buying Twitter. That's why the biggest reason I love Elon Musk buying Twitter is exposing a lot of these people's unwillingness to actually agree with the First Amendment online. It's completely exposed it. That's the number one reason. Obviously, you don't want Republicans to be shadow banned. You don't want people to be banned off, social media sites due to their political affiliation, due to what they believe politically. That's the overarching theme. But just in general, like this idea, these people are arguing for censorship. And they use the coded words like you're spreading disinformation, you're spreading misinformation. The Washington Post story on October 20th, right before the election, it might have hurt Joe Biden's chance of winning the general election against Donald Trump, so they labeled it misinformation. Did they know it was misinformation? No, they didn't know it, but they knew that if that article got out and it impacted independent voters in the Rust Belt states, in the swing states, it could potentially aid in helping Donald Trump get reelected, and they didn't like it. So they made the excuse and used the enabling word misinformation. They used the enabling word disinformation to say that that story was completely discredited. That's why I hate those type of words, and that's why I hate a headline like this. So you're saying the government should step in and decide, and because there's disinformation, they should be the standard bearer. And Twitter right now, I put up a graph yesterday, 99% of the money that Twitter employees donated to I believe it was the 2018 midterm elections, 98.7 or 99% of the money was donated to Democratic candidates, meaning the people that are deciding who gets shadow banned, who gets banned off the site, who gets suspended, are extremely liberal bias, which is just a horrible thing for everyone. Even if you are liberal, you should want free speech. I understand liberals have enjoyed a massive advantage on these platforms because their side owns them, and if the Republican side owns them, had owned them, I'm sure we would have seen the exact same thing. It's just human nature to want to silence the other side, but we have to fight against those urges. And there's this weird comparison between the First and Second Amendment. And I always tell people, with the Second Amendment, it is such a slippery slope. Because if they really wanted to ban the guns, they wouldn't come out tomorrow and start a campaign saying, let's ban firearms. They would start a campaign saying, we need stricter background checks, which is what they're already doing. They would start a campaign saying, we need to ban assault weapons. Citizens should not have access to military type assault weapons, which is what they're already doing. These processes take multiple steps. You don't come out tomorrow and say, we want to restrict free speech in the United States. You come out and you say there's too much misinformation, which is causing people to think the wrong way. We need to ban people on Twitter to keep it safe. It's for your general safety, right? Because there's all these school shootings, because these kids are dying, we're going to play off of those emotions that people have, and we're going to say, do you want kids to die? No, you don't want kids to die, right? So then you need to give up some of your rights to the right to bear arms for the betterment of society. It's a very similar communist tactic. You make $100,000 per year when how about your neighbor makes $20K per year? He does twice the work you do. Why can't you just both make $60,000 a year? You're both living comfortably. Give up some of your salary for other people, for the betterment of society. Do you want to be a good person? That's where they hit you. That's where they're hitting you with the First Amendment. They're saying there's too much disinformation. That's the excuse they're using. With the Second Amendment, it's all about you want kids to die, the school shootings, things like that. They play off a human emotion, and they want these citizens to actually advocate for their own rights to be taken away. When you're advocating for stricter gun laws, you're advocating for stricter rights against yourself. When you're advocating for censorship on social media, you're advocating for stricter censorship against yourself and stricter rights against yourself. And that's what governments, when they want more power, they let the citizens argue against themselves. The governments don't come in and the government wouldn't come in and say, we're going to impose strict rights against you, because the citizens would just lash out against that immediately. What they do is they swing it, they play off a human emotion, and they allow the own citizens to rip each other apart and argue against their own rights and their own overall values for the betterment of society. Again, it's just like, oh, you're making $100,000 a year when your neighbor makes $20K and does twice the work you do. Why can't you just both make $50K? It's that communist mentality. Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. Well, we know with communism, time and time again, nobody's happy. We've got some news on student loan debt, which is such a big topic in America. I'll give my take on it, but it says, breaking, President Biden is looking at different options to forgive most, if not all, federal student loan debt, per CBS News. So I think the major issue with student loan debt in America is the lack of educating high school kids on what college actually is. Because, I was just in high school. I've experienced it. It's basically like the expectation for every kid, no matter your current economic situation, the overall expectation is that you're going to go to college. And most of these kids think that college is just, in a way, an extension of high school. Like, it's just growing up. You go to college, that's what everyone does. Even if what you want to do really doesn't require a degree, or maybe it's not the best financial decision to go get a degree, kids are told, like, that's the next step. Going to college is the next step. So even if you take on 20, 30, 40, 50K in student loan debt, that is the next step, and kids go into college not even understanding that they'll have any student loan debt. Again, they think it's kind of like another type of high school. Like, it's just public school that's paid for. It's what I do. It's a sacrifice. It's just schooling. I'm not going to have to pay for it. I'm not going to have $50,000 in student loan debt at the end of this. Why would I? It's the same thing as high school. We need to start educating the kids in 9th and 10th grade that, if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to college. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to college. But some of these things that these kids want to do, college is not necessary, and more times than not, it doesn't make sense. And college ends up just being a vacation for many of these kids. They go, they party, they get drunk, they have sex, things like that. That's all they do. So you need to start educating them and being like, no, you do realize, based on your current family economic, situation, you will have $50,000 in debt if you go to college for 4 years. You realize, I genuinely think that kids just think like it's the next step in life. Like, it's not a legitimate decision. Should I go to college or should I not go to college? It's centered now to where after high school, you better go to college. That's what it's centered now. These kids are thinking in their head, that's the next step of evolving into an adult, is I have to go to college, I have to get a degree, and then they get hit with $60,000 in student loan debt, and they're like, Biden needs to bail me out, whatever, and then we can get into the whole, should we bail out the kids with the student loan debt, stuff like that. But I think overall, there needs to be an education to many of these children in 9th and 10th grade to where, listen, nobody knows what they want to do, but I would almost recommend most kids right out of high school, you either take a gap year, you grow some more rather than committing to a college if you really don't know what you want to do with your life. And so many of these kids don't know what they want to do with their life. They go to college, they take the, requisite math classes, whatever, that you need to take to graduate and get a diploma anyways, and then they kind of unwillingly go into whatever sort of degree or whatever sort of field they want to. So obviously it's a multi-layered issue, but I just think, growing up when you're in 9th or 10th grade with many of these kids, no matter your overall family economic level, whether or not your family can afford for you to go to college without you taking on a ridiculous amount of student loan debt, no matter the situation, you are expected to go to college. And if you don't go to college, that is seen as kind of a negative. And, you know, even if you're not in the best financial situation, then you leave college after 4 years and you're like, I have $60,000 in student loan debt. Are you kidding me? You know, and then you get into the situation, degrees definitely help you get a job. They help you get higher paying jobs, things like that. But we've heard the horror stories of kids coming out of college with degrees, with a lot of student loan or student debt, not even, you know, being able to get a higher paying job. You know, it's not even a guarantee for a higher paying job. So there needs to be a better job of educating kids and telling kids, no, this is not high school 2.0. It's not like, oh, you're in 8th grade and from 8th grade we go to high school and everyone goes to it and it's free and it's, you know, it's like a different situation. It is a life decision. It is genuinely a life decision. It's not like going from junior high to high school, which basically everyone does. Everyone graduates high school, or, you know, I shouldn't generalize it, but generally, the problem is kids think it's an extension of high school and that everyone should go to college, even though, you know, you're better off really researching it. And if your family is in a position to where they can help you pay off the debt, they can help you pay for college, that could be a reason to go, as opposed to really understanding and really having that knowledge and saying to yourself, listen, I don't know what I want to do with my life right now. I don't have the financial backing from my family. If I decide to get some, you know, bullcrap degree or whatever, I'm going to have $60,000 in student loan debt for the rest of my life. There needs to be a better education for the kids. And we're at the point now where so many of these kids just went into college all willing. Again, college is like a vacation, man. It really is. You have like, you know, 4 or 5 classes a week. You do whatever you want. You go have sex. You drink, things like that. That's all these kids are doing. I shouldn't say that's all they're doing, but it's basically a laxed version of high school. You're not paying for anything. You have a dorm. It's a very fun way of life. And I don't think a lot of these kids are educated enough to really realize you're going to get slapped with a lot of debt if you do not have your finances in order, if your family is not helping pay, if you're not working 2 jobs or whatever. I don't even know what you'd have to work if you get 60K. I mean, these degrees cost you 6 figures at this point. It is unbelievable. It's basically $20,000, $25,000 per year in tuition at a normal average college, you know, and that can be a lot more if you go to a college like Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Michigan. So the college situation is something that needs to be resolved. When it comes to cutting the cost of college and making the taxpayers pay for the kids to go to college, that's a completely different issue. What I'm saying is let's educate these kids right now. This is what it costs. I don't think we're educating them. I think kids that are in 9th to 10th grade, they think it's an expectation that they have to go to college, even if they don't know what they want to do. If you know you're going to be a lawyer and you're getting a 4.0 GPA and you're applying to Columbia, then yeah, college is 100% necessary. You should get in, get another job to help pay for the degree, get your degree from Columbia, and make $200,000 a year being a lawyer. Same thing with being a doctor, things like that. Jobs like that, yeah, where you know what you want to do. Unfortunately, that seems to be a very small percent of the population in high school, to where they know in 9th, 10th, 11th, even when you're a senior in high school, you're like, yes, I'm going to be a doctor. Yes, I'm going to be a vet. Most kids don't know that. They go to college, they get the classes out of the way, and then they're like, what do I want to do with my life? There needs to be better education among the young kids, to where it's like, this is not high school 2.0. At the end of high school, you don't get hit with 100K in debt. You know, like, it's a little bit different. It is different. So it's not like I have anything against college, but many of these kids, they think it's like an extension of high school. And then they get hit with this debt and they want taxpayers to bail them out. And again, that's a whole nother issue for a whole nother time. That's a Bernie Sanders thing, like, should taxpayers pay for students' colleges, students' degrees, things like that. That's another topic. I don't want to talk about that right now. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.